Act 1, Scene 1. The home of Martin Vanderhof, just around the corner from Columbia University, but don't go looking for it. The room we see is what is customarily described as a living room, but in this house, the term is something of an understatement. Every man for himself room would be more like it. For here, meals are eaten, plays are written, snakes collected, ballet steps practiced, xylophones played, printing presses operated. If there were room enough, there would probably be ice skating. In short, the brood presided over by Martin Vanderhof goes on about the business of living in the fullest sense of the word. At the moment, Grandpa Vanderhof's daughter, Mrs. Penelope Sycamore, is doing what she likes more than anything else in the world. She is writing a play, her 11th. As she goes back to work, Essie Carmichael, Mrs. Sycamore's eldest daughter, comes in from the kitchen.
Oh, my, that kitchen's hot.
What, Essie?
I say the kitchen's awful hot. That new candy I'm making, it just won't ever get cool.
You have to make candy today, Essie. It's such a hot day.
Well, I got all those new orders. Ed went out and got a bunch of new orders.
My, if it keeps on, I suppose you'll be opening up a store?
That's what Ed was saying last night. But I said no. I want to be a dancer.
The only trouble with dancing is it takes so long. You've been studying for such a long time.
Only 8 years. After all, Mother, you've been writing plays for 8 years. We started about the same time, didn't we?
Yes, but you shouldn't count my first 2 years because I was learning to type.
I think the candy's hardening up now, Miss Essie.
Thanks, Reba. I'll bring some in, Mother. I want you to try it.
Finish the second act, Mrs. Sycamore?
What?
I said, did you finish the second act?
Oh, no, Reba. I just got Cynthia entering the monastery.
She was at Kit Kat, wasn't she?
Well, she gets tired of the Kit Kat Club, and there's this monastery, so she goes there.
Do they let her in?
Well, yes, I made it Visitor's Day, so anyone can enter.
Oh.
So she arrives on Visitor's Day, and she just stays.
You mean she stays all night?
Oh, yes, she stays 6 years.
6 years? My, I bet she busts that monastery wide open.
6 years later...
Mr. Pinna! Mr. Pinna! Will you bring up one of those new skyrockets, please? I want to show them to Miss Sycamore. Look, Penny, what do you think of these little firecrackers we just made? We can sell them 10 strings for a cent. Listen. Nice, huh?
Yes, Paul dear. Were you ever in a monastery?
No, I wasn't. Wait till you see these new rockets. Gold stars, then blue stars, and then bombs, and then a balloon. Mr. Penna thought of the balloon.
Sounds lovely. Did you do all that today?
Sure, we made up. Oh, here we are. Look, Penny, cost us 18 cents to make, and we sell them for 50. How many do you figure we can make before the 4th of July, Mr. Penna?
Well, we've got 2 weeks yet. What day are you going to take the stuff up to Mount Vernon?
About a week. You know, we're gonna need to make a larger booth this year. Got a lot of stuff made up. Come on, we're not through yet.
Look, Mr. Sycamore, I'm afraid the powder chamber is just too close to the balloon.
Well, we got the stars and the bombs in between.
But that don't give the balloon time enough. A balloon needs plenty of time.
Come on, let's go down in the cellar and try it.
All right.
Mr. Pinna, if a girl you loved entered a monastery, what would you do?
Oh, I don't know, Mrs. Sycamore. It's been so long.
Miss Alice going to be home to dinner tonight, Mrs. Sycamore?
What? Oh, I don't know, Reba, maybe.
Well, I'll set a place for her, but she's only been home 1 night this week.
Yes, I know.
Miss Essie's making some mighty good candy today. She's doing something new with coconuts.
That's nice.
Let's see, 6 and Mr. Pinna, and if Mr. Kolenkov comes, that makes it 8, don't it? Yes, I'd better set for 8.
Reba, I think I'll put this play away for a while and go back to the war play.
Oh, I always liked that one, the war play. Boom, boom.
They'll be better when they're harder, Mother, but try one. I want to know what you think.
Oh, they look lovely. What do you call them?
I think I'll call them Love Dreams.
Yes, that's nice. I'm going back to my war play. Essie, what do you think?
Oh, are you, Mother?
Yes, I sort of got myself into a monastery and now I can't get out.
Oh, well, it'll come to you, Mother. Remember how you got out of that brothel? The snakes look awful hungry. Did Reba feed them?
I don't know. Reba, did you feed the snakes yet?
No, Donald's coming and he always brings flies with him.
Well, try to feed them before Grandpa gets home. You know how fussy he is about it.
Yes.
And here, take Harpo into the kitchen with you. I think I'll have another love dream.
Mr. Penna was right about the balloon. It was too close to the powder.
Want a love dream, Father? They're on the table.
No thanks. I gotta wash.
I'm going back to the war play, Paul.
Oh, that's nice. We're putting some red stars after the bombs and then the balloon. That ought to do it.
You know, Mr. Kullenkopf says I'm his most promising pupil.
You'd think, with 40 monks and one girl, that something would happen.
Hey, Essie! Essie!
I like that, Ed. Did you write it?
No, Beethoven.
It's got a lot of you in it. I made those new candies this afternoon, Ed.
Yeah?
You can take them around tonight.
Now, here's a finish. This is me. How's that?
That's fine. Remember it when Kullenkopf comes, will you?
Ed, dear, why don't you and Essie have a baby? I was just thinking about it the other day.
I don't know. We could have one if you wanted us to. What about it, Essie? Do you want to have
fine.
a baby?
I'm willing if Grandpa is.
Let's ask him.
Labor play. Religious play. Sex play. Oh, I know it's here someplace.
I was right about the balloon. It was too close to the powder.
Anything you want printed, Mr. Pinna? How about some more calling cards?
No thanks. I've still got the first 1,000.
Well, call on somebody, will ya?
All right.
What have we got for dinner, Reba? I'm ready to print the menu.
Let's see. Cornflakes, watermelon, some kind of these candies Miss Essie made, and some kind of meat. I forget.
I think I'll set it up in bold-faced Cheltenham tonight. You know, if I'm gonna take those new candies out, I better put them in the candy boxes. I'm gonna print up some descriptive matter after dinner.
Do you think anybody reads those things, Ed, that you put in the candy boxes? Oh, here's the war play, Poison Gas. Oh, I guess that's Donald. Look at Reba smile.
The boyfriend, eh, Reba?
They're awfully cute, Donald and Reba. Sort of like a Porgy and Bess. Oh.
Hello, Reba.
Donald!
Evening, everybody.
Hi, Donald. How have you been?
I'm pretty good, Mr. Ed. How have you been, Miss Sycamore?
Very well, thank you. Donald,
Yes, ma'am?
were you ever in a monastery?
No, I don't go places much. I'm on relief.
Oh, yes, of course.
Here's the flies, Reba. Caught a big mess of them today.
You sure did.
Oh, I see you've been working, Miss Sycamore.
Oh, yes, indeed, Donald.
How's Grandpa?
Just fine. He's over at Columbia this afternoon. The commencement exercises.
My. The years certainly do roll round, Miss Sycamore.
M, E, A, and T. What's he go there for all the time, Penny?
Oh, I don't know. It's so handy just around the corner.
Oh, Donald! Mr. Pinna and I are going to take the fireworks up to Mount Vernon next week. Do you think you could give us a hand?
Yes, sir. Only I can't take money for it this year, because if the government finds out I've been working, they'll get sore.
Oh. Hey, Ed, I got a wonderful idea in the bathroom just now. I was reading Trotsky. It's yours, isn't it?
Yeah, I left it there.
Who is it?
You know, Trotsky, the Russian Revolution?
Oh.
Anyhow, it struck me it was a great fireworks idea. Remember the last days of Pompeii?
Oh, yes! Palisades Park.
Well, I'm going to do the revolution. A full hour display.
Paul, that's wonderful.
The red fire is the flag, isn't it?
Sure, and the Tsar, and the Cossacks.
And the freeing of the slaves?
No, Donald, the Russian Revolution.
Oh.
Oh, hello, Grandpa.
Well, sir, you should have been there. That's all I can say. You should have been there.
Was it a nice commencement, Grandpa?
Wonderful. They get better every year. You don't know how lucky you are, your snakes.
Big class this year, Grandpa? How many were there?
Oh, must have been 2 acres. Everybody graduated. Yes, sir. And much funnier speeches than they had last year.
You want to listen to a good speech? You go and listen to Father Divine.
Oh, wait. They have him at Columbia.
Donald, will you tell Reba Grandpa's home now and we won't wait for Miss Alice for dinner?
Yes, ma'am. Reba, Grandpa's home. We can have dinner now.
We made a new skyrocket today, Grandpa. Wait till you see it.
Evening, Grandpa.
Evening, Mr. Pinna.
Didn't we make a fine rocket today, Mr. Pinna?
We certainly did.
Wonder why they don't have fireworks at commencements.
Don't make enough noise. You take a good commencement order, and he'll drown out a whole carload of fireworks. And say as much, too.
Don't the graduates ever say anything?
No, they just sit there in cap and nightgown, get their diplomas, and then along about 40 years from now, they suddenly say, "Where am I?"
Hello, Grandpa. Have a nice day.
Hello, have a nice day. Don't I even get kissed?
Excuse me, Grandpa.
I'll take a tomato too. You know, I could have used a couple of these this afternoon.
Father?
No, thanks.
Mother?
No thanks, dear.
Write something, Ed.
There was a letter that came for you, Grandpa. Did you get it?
Letter for me. I don't know anybody.
It was for you, though. Had your name on it.
That's funny. Where is it?
Oh, I don't know. Where's Grandpa's letter, Mother?
What, dear?
Where's that letter that came for Grandpa last week?
I don't know. Oh, I remember seeing the kittens on it.
Well, who was it from? Did you notice?
Yes, it was on the outside.
Well, who was it?
United States government.
Really? Wonder what they wanted.
You know, there was one before that, too, from the same people. There was a couple of them, actually.
Well, if any more come, I wish you'd give them to me.
Yes, Grandpa.
I think I'll go out to Westchester tomorrow and do a little snake hunting.
God is the state is God.
What's that?
God is the state is God.
Who says that?
Trotsky.
Well, that's all right. I thought you said it.
It's nice for printing, you know. Good and short. G-O-D space I-S space T-H-E space.
And so the beautiful princess came into the palace and kissed her mother and her father and her grandfather.
Hello, darling.
Hi, Grandpa. What do you think? They turned into the Sycamore family? Surprised?
Oh, Alice. I like it.
Do you?
It's new, isn't it?
It looks nice and summery.
Where'd you get it?
Oh, I took a walk during lunch hour.
You've been taking a lot of walks lately. That's the second new dress this week.
I just like to brighten up the office once in a while. I'm known as the K. Francis of Kirby and Co. Well, what's new around here in the way of plays, snakes, ballet dancing, or fireworks? Dad, I'll bet you've been down in that cellar all day.
Huh?
I'm going back to the war play, Alice.
Really, Mother?
Ed, play Alice that Beethoven thing you wrote.
No, you can mail a letter all the way from Nicaragua now for just 2 pesos.
Really?
Kenneth, my virginity is a priceless thing to me.
Listen, people, listen. I'm not home to dinner. A young gentleman is calling for me.
Really? Who is it?
Well, isn't that nice?
I did everything possible to keep him from coming here, but he's calling for me.
Why don't you both stay to dinner?
No, I want him to take you in easy doses. I've tried to prepare him a little, but don't make it any worse than you can help. Don't read him any plays, Mother, and don't let a snake bite him, Grandpa, because I like him. Oh, and I wouldn't dance for him, Essie, because we're going to the Monte Carlo Ballet tonight.
Can't do anything. Who is he, the President of the United States?
No, he's Vice President of Kirby and Co., Mr. Anthony Kirby Jr.
The boss's son?
Well,
The boss's son, just like the movies.
That explains the new dresses.
And not being home to dinner for 3 weeks.
Why, Sherlock Holmes.
are you going to marry him?
Oh, of course! Tonight! Meanwhile, I have to go and put on my wedding dress.
Is he good looking?
Yes, in a word. Oh dear, what time is it?
I don't know. Anybody know what time it is?
Mr. Pinna might know.
Oh, it was about 5 o'clock.
Oh, I ought
A couple
to
of
know
hours
better
ago.
than to ask you people. Will you let me know the minute he comes, please?
Of course, Alice.
Yes, I know, but I mean the minute he comes.
Well, of course.
Well, be sure.
Well, what do you think of that?
She seems to like him, if you ask me.
I should say so. She's got it bad.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if she married him? We can have the wedding right in this room.
Now, wait a minute, Penny. This is the first time he's ever called for the girl.
You only called for me once.
Young people are different nowadays.
Oh, I don't know. Look at Ed and me. He came to dinner once and just stayed.
Well, anyhow, I think it's wonderful. Don't you, Grandpa?
She certainly seems happy about it.
Oh, he must be crazy about her. Maybe he's the one who's taking her out every night. There he is! Never mind, Reba. I'll answer it. Now remember what Alice said. Be very nice to him.
All right, let's take a look at him.
Well, welcome to our little home.
How do you do?
I'm Alice's mother. Do come right in. Oh, here we are. Here we are. Oh, this is Grandpa. And that's Alice's father and Alice's sister and her husband, Ed Carmichael. Well, now give me your hat and make yourself right at home.
I'm afraid you're making a mistake.
How's that?
My card.
Wilbur C. Henderson, Internal Revenue Department.
That's right.
What can we do for you?
Does Mr. Martin Vanderhof live here?
Yes, sir. That's me.
Well, Mr. Vanderhof, the government wants to talk to you about a little matter of income tax.
Income tax?
You mind if I sit down?
No, just go right ahead.
Thank you.
Mother, is that Mr. Kirby?
No, it isn't, darling. It's an internal something or other. Pardon me.
Mr. Sycamore. Oh, excuse me.
What is it?
These things aren't going off. Look.
Not here, Mr. Pinna. Grandpa's busy.
Oh.
Pardon me.
Now, Mr. Vanderhof, we've written you letters, but haven't got any reply yet.
Oh, that's what those letters were.
I told you they were from the government.
According to our records, Mr. Vanderhof, you've never paid an income tax.
That's right.
Why not?
I don't believe in it.
Well, you own property, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And you receive yearly income from it?
I do.
Of between $3,000 and $4,000 per year?
About that.
For some years now?
I have. 1901, if you want the exact date.
Well, the government's only concerned from 1914 on. That's when the income tax started.
Well,
it seems, Mr. Vanderhof, that you owe the government 24 years in income tax.
Wait a minute, you can't go back that far. That's outlawed.
What's your name?
What difference does it make?
Ever filed an income tax return?
No, sir.
Ah, what was your yearly income last year?
$28.50. Wasn't it, Essie?
Yes, sir.
If you please. Now, Mr. Vanderhof, you know there's quite a penalty for not filing an income tax return.
Penalty?
look, Mr. Henderson, let me ask you something.
Well?
Suppose I pay you this money. Mind you, I don't say I'm going to pay it, but just for the sake of argument, what's the government going to do with it?
Why, the government gives you everything. It protects you.
What from?
Well, invasion. Foreigners that might come over here and take everything you've got.
Oh, I don't think they're going to do that.
Well, if you don't pay an income tax, they would. How do you think the government keeps up the army and the navy and all the battleships and...
Last time we used battleships was in the Spanish-American War. And what did we get out of it? Cuba? And we gave that back. I wouldn't mind paying if it were something sensible.
Sensible? Well, what about Congress and the Supreme Court and the president? We have to pay them, don't we?
Not with my money. No, sir.
Now, wait a minute. I'm not here to argue with you. All I know is that you haven't paid an income tax and you've got to pay it.
They've got to show me.
We don't have to show you. I just told you all those buildings down in Washington and interstate commerce and Constitution.
The Constitution was paid for long ago. And interstate commerce? What is interstate commerce anyhow?
Oh my God. There are 48 states, see? And if there weren't interstate commerce, nothing could go from one state to another. See?
Why not? They got fences?
No, they haven't got fences. They've got laws. My God, I've never come across anything like this before.
Well, I might pay about $75, but that's all it's worth.
You'll pay every cent of it like everybody else.
Listen, Essie, listen to this a minute.
God, and let me tell you something else. You'll go to jail if you don't pay it. You hear me? That's the law, and if you think you're bigger than the law, you've got another thing coming for you. You're no better than anybody else, and the sooner that you get that through your head, the better. You'll hear from the United States government. That's all I can say.
Look out for those snakes.
Oh, Jesus!
How was that, Essie?
Fine, Ed.
How did that sound to you, folks?
I liked it.
My goodness, he was mad, wasn't he?
It's not his fault. It's just that the whole thing is so silly.
He forgot his hat.
Say, what size is that hat?
7 1/8.
Just right for me.
Who was that fella anyway?
This must be Mr. Kirby.
Better make sure this time.
Yes, I will.
I hope he's good looking.
How do you do?
Oh, good evening.
Is this Mr. Anthony Kirby Jr.?
Oh, yes.
Well, Mr. Kirby, come right in. We've been expecting you. Come on in. This is really Mr. Kirby. Now, I'm Alice's mother, and that's Mr. Sycamore, and Alice's grandfather, and her sister Essie, and Essie's husband. There. Now you know all of us, Mr. Kirby. Give me your hat and make yourself right at home.
Oh, thank you.
Mother, is that Mr. Kirby?
Yes, it is, Alice, and he's lovely.
I'll be right down.
Do sit down, Mr. Kirby.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I hope I'm not keeping you from dinner.
No, no. Have a tomato.
No, thank you.
How about a piece of candy?
No thanks.
Oh, I forgot to introduce Mr. Pinna. This is Mr. Pinna, Mr. Kirby.
Now, how do you do?
Wasn't I reading about your father in the newspaper the other day? Didn't he get indicted or something?
No, hardly that. He just testified before the Securities Commission.
Oh.
Yes, of course. I'm sure there was nothing crooked about it, Mr. Pinna. As a matter of fact, Alice has often told us what a lovely man your father is.
Well, I know Father couldn't get along without Alice. She knows more about the business than any of us.
You're awful young, Mr. Kirby, aren't you? To be vice president of a big place like that?
Oh, well, you know what that means, Vice President. All I have is a desk with my name on it.
At all? Don't you get any salary?
Yes, well, a little. More than I'm worth, I'm afraid.
Oh, now you're just being modest.
Sounds kind of dull to me, Wall Street. Do you like it?
I mean, well, the hours are short, and I haven't been there very long.
Just out of college, huh?
Yeah, well, I knocked around for a little while first. Just sort of had fun.
What did you do? Travel?
For a while. Then I went to Cambridge for a year.
Ah, England.
That's right.
Say, what's an English commencement like? Did you see any?
Ooh, yes, oh, very impressive.
They are, huh?
Anyway, now the fun's over and I'm facing the world.
Well, you've certainly got a good start, Mr. Kirby. Vice President and a rich father.
Well, that's hardly my fault.
So now I suppose you're all ready to settle down and get married?
Come on, Penny. I'm sure Mr. Kirby knows his own mind.
I wasn't making up his mind for him. Now was I, Mr. Kirby?
No, that's quite all right, Mrs. Sycamore.
You see?
You mustn't rush him, Mother.
Well, all I meant was he's bound to get married, and suppose the wrong girl gets him.
Well, here I am, a vision in blue. Apparently you've had time to get acquainted.
Oh, yes, indeed. We were just having a delightful talk about love and marriage.
Oh, dear. I'm sorry I came down as fast as I could.
I didn't mind in the least.
Damn those flies in the kitchen. Oh, Miss Alice, you look beautiful. Where are you going?
I'm going out, Reba.
Stepping, huh?
That must be Cullen Cobb.
I think we'd better go, Tony.
Okay, all right.
Grandpa, you like cream on your cornflakes? I forget.
Half and half, Donald.
Oh, my little Rebishka.
Yes, that's Kolenkoff, all right.
Yes, sir, Mr. Kolenkoff.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Oh, Grandpa, what do you think? I have a letter from Russia. The second 5-year plan is a failure.
I practiced today, Mr. Cullen Cobb.
My Pavlova.
Well, if you'll excuse us, Mr. Kolenkov.
My little Alice. Never have I seen you look so magnificent. Mwah!
Oh, thank you, Mr. Kolenkov. Oh, Tony, this is Mr. Kolenkov, Essie's dancing teacher, Mr. Kirby.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Will you pardon us, Mr. Kolenkov, for going to the Monte Carlo Ballet tonight?
The Monte Carlo Ballet? It stinks.
Yes. Well, goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye. I'm
Bye.
so glad to have met you all.
Goodbye.
Bye,
Bye
Alice.
now.
Goodbye.
The Monte Carlo Ballet! And isn't Mr. Kirby lovely? Come on, everybody, dinner's ready.
I thought he was a nice fellow, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. And so good looking.
And he had such nice manners. Did you notice, Paul? Did you notice his manners?
I certainly did. You were getting pretty personal with him.
Oh, now, Paul. Anyhow, he's a very nice young man.
Yeah, he looks just like a cousin of mine.
Oh, take a fish feet, then you have the ballet.
I think if they get married here, I'll put the altar right where the snakes are. You wouldn't mind, Grandpa, would you?
Not if the snakes don't.
Oh, Mother, no! They'll want to get married in a church. His family and everything.
Yes, of course they would.
Church wedding.
Quiet, everybody, quiet. Well, sir, we've been getting along pretty good for quite a while, and we're certainly much obliged. Remember, all we ask is to just go along and be happy in our own sort of way. Of course, we want to keep our health, but as far as anything else is concerned, we'll leave it to you. Thank you. So, the second 5-year plan is a failure, huh, Kolenkov?
Catastrophic, and wait until they try the third 5-year plan.
Of course his family is going to want to come. Imagine Alice marrying a Kirby.
Think of that. Isn't it exciting?
I'll play the wedding march on the piano.
Hey, what do we got for dinner? I'm hungry.
Act 1, Scene 2. Late the same night. The voices of Alice and Tony drift through.
Oh, I could see them dance every night of the week. I think they're marvelous.
Oh, they are, aren't they? But of course, just walking inside any theater gives me a thrill.
Well, it's been so lovely, Tony. I hate to have it over.
Is it over? Do I have to go right away?
Not if you don't want to.
I don't.
Would you like a cold drink?
Wonderful.
I'll see what's in the icebox. Want to come along?
I'd follow you to the ends of the earth.
Oh, just the kitchen is enough.
Why? I like it. You've done it very simply, haven't you?
Yes, we didn't know whether to do Empire or Neo-Grecian.
So you settled for Frigidaire.
Yes, it's so easy to live with. Lucky you're not hungry, Mr. K. An icebox full of cornflakes. That'll give you a rough idea of the Sycamores.
Well, now, if you'll please be seated, I'd like to offer a toast.
We are seated.
Mrs. Sycamore, Miss Sycamore, to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. To you.
You know something?
What?
I wouldn't trade 1 minute of this evening for all the rice in China.
Really?
Across my heart.
Oh, is there much rice in China?
Oh, terrific. Didn't you read The Good Earth? Well, I suppose I ought to go.
Is it very late?
Very. I don't want to go.
I don't want you to.
All right, I won't. When do you get your vacation?
Last 2 weeks in August.
I might take mine then too.
Really?
What are you gonna do?
I don't know, I hadn't thought much about it.
Going away, do you think?
I might not. I like the city in the summertime.
Yeah, I do too.
But you always go up to Maine, don't you?
Oh, that's right. Oh, but I'm sure I would like the city in the summertime if... Oh, you know what I mean, Alice. I'd love it if you were here.
Well, it'd be nice if you were here, Tony.
Oh, you know what you're saying, don't you?
What?
That you'd rather spend the summer with me than anybody else.
Was I?
Well, if it's true about summer, how would you feel about the winter?
Yes, I'd like that too.
Oh, then there's spring and autumn. If you could see your way clear about those, Miss Sycamore.
I might.
I guess that's the whole year. We haven't forgotten anything, have we?
No.
Well then.
Is that you, Alice? What time is it? Oh, Mr. Kirby, I had no idea. That is, I didn't mean to interrupt anything.
Oh, not at all, Miss Sycamore.
No, Mother.
I just came down for a manuscript. Oh, then you can go right ahead. Ah, here it is. Sex takes a holiday. Well, good night, Tony.
Oh, good night, Mrs. Sycamore.
Oh, I think you can call me Penny, don't you, Alice? At least I hope so.
What was that?
It's all right, Tony. That's Father.
Oh, at this time of night?
Any time of night, any time of day.
You know, you're more beautiful, more lovely, more adorable than anyone else in the world.
Don't, Tony.
What? My dear, just because you're mother? All mothers are like that. Alice, and Penny's a darling. You see, I'm even calling her Penny.
I don't mean that. Look, Tony, this is something I should have said a long time ago, but I didn't have the courage. I let myself be swept away because I loved you so.
Oh, darling.
No, wait, Tony. I want to make it clear to you. Listen, you're of a different world, a whole different kind of people. Oh, I don't mean socially or money. That's too silly, but your family and mine, it just wouldn't work, Tony. It just wouldn't work.
All right, have it your way. She can't dance. That's why they pay her all that money. Because she can't dance.
Well, I don't call that dancing what she does. Oh, hello. How was the ballet?
It was fine, Essie.
Wonderful.
Hello there.
Hello.
Look, what do you people think? Ed and I just saw Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. Do you think she can dance, Mr. Kirby?
Why, yes, I always thought so.
Well, what does she do, anyhow? Now look, you're Fred Astaire and I'm Ginger Rogers.
Essie, please!
I only want to use him for a minute. Now look, Mr. Kirby.
Essie, you're just as good as Ginger Rogers. We all agree.
You see, Ed?
Yeah, come on, Essie. We're butting in here.
They've been together all evening. Good night, Mr. Kirby. Good night, Alice.
Good night, Mrs. Carmichael.
Good night. Oh, Essie, did you ask Grandpa about us having a baby?
Oh, yes. He said to go right ahead.
You see, Tony, that's what it would be like.
Oh, I don't mind that. Anyhow, we're not going to live with your family. It's just you and I.
No, it isn't. It's never quite that. Oh, I love them, Tony. I love them deeply. Some people could break away, but I couldn't. I know they do rather strange things, but they're gay and they're fun, and I don't know, there's a kind of nobility about them.
Alice, you talk as only though you could understand them. That's not true. Why, every family's got their little curious traits. What of it? My father raises orchids at $10,000 a bulb. Is that sensible? My mother believes in spiritualism. That's just as bad as your mother writing plays, isn't it?
It goes deeper, Tony. Your mother believes in spiritualism because it's fashionable, and your father raises orchids, well, because he can afford to. My mother writes plays because 8 years ago, a typewriter was delivered here by mistake.
Oh, darling, what of it?
Oh, and look at Grandpa. 35 years ago, he just quit business one day. He started up to his office in the elevator, and he came right back down again. He just stopped. He could have been a rich man, but he said it took too much time. So for 35 years, he's just collected snakes and gone to circuses and commencements. It never occurs to any of them that maybe...
Hello there, children.
Good evening, Mr. Vanderhof.
Hello, Grandpa.
How's the weather? It looks like a nice summery evening.
Yes, it's lovely, Grandpa.
Well, I'm off. Goodbye, Mr. Kirby. I've got a date with the policeman on the corner.
Oh, policeman?
We've got a standing date. 12:30 every night. Known him since he was a little boy. He's really a doctor. But after he graduated, he came to me and said he didn't want to be a doctor. He'd always wanted to be a policeman. So I said, you go ahead and be a policeman, if that's what you want to be. And that's what he did. How do you like my new hat?
It's very nice, Mr. Vanderhof.
Yeah, I like it. The government gave it to me.
Now do you see what I mean? Could you explain Grandpa to your father? You couldn't, Tony, you couldn't. Oh, I love you, Tony, but I love them too. Oh, and it's no use, Tony, it's no use.
There's only one thing you've said that matters, that makes any sense at all. You love me.
But Tony, I know so well.
But darling, don't you think other people have had the same problem? Everybody's got a family.
But not like mine.
And that doesn't stop people who love each other. Darling, won't you just trust me and go on loving me and forget everything else?
Can I?
Because nothing can keep us apart. You know that. You must know that. And they want you to be happy, don't they? They must.
Of course they do. But they can't change, Tony. I wouldn't want them to change.
And they won't have to change. They're charming, lovable people just as they are. Everything will work out. You're worrying about something that may never come up.
Oh, Tony, am I?
All that matters right now is that we love each other. And that's so, isn't it?
Yes.
Well then.
Tony!
Now, I'd like to see a little gaiety around here. Young gentlemen calling and getting engaged and everything.
What do I say?
Well, first, you thank the young man for getting engaged to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby, for getting engaged to me!
And then you tell him what was it about him that first took your girlish heart.
Oh, it was the back of your head.
Huh?
Uh-huh. It wasn't your charm, and it wasn't your money. It was the back of your head. I just liked it.
And what happened when I turned around?
Oh, I got used to it after a while.
Oh, Alice, think of it. We're pretty lucky, aren't we?
I know that I am. I'm the luckiest girl in the world.
And I'm not exactly unlucky myself. Oh dear, I guess I ought to. Good night, darling. Until tomorrow.
Good night.
Isn't it wonderful we work in the same office? Otherwise, I'd be hanging around here all day.
Won't it be funny in the office tomorrow, seeing each other and just going about as though nothing had happened?
Oh, thank God I'm vice president. I can dictate to you all day. Dear Mrs. Sycamore, I love you. I love you. I love you.
Oh, darling, you're such a fool.
Oh, why don't you meet me in the drugstore in the morning before you go up to the office? I'll have millions of things to say to you.
All right.
And then lunch, and then dinner tomorrow night.
Oh, Tony, what will people say?
Oh, it's got to come out sometime. In fact, if you know a good housetop, I'd love to do a little shouting.
Yes, sir, Mr. Pinna. We did a good night's work.
That's what? 500 Black Panthers, 300 willow trees, and 8 dozen junior kitty bombers?
Pretty good. Why, hello, Alice. You just come in?
Oh, no. I've been home quite a while.
Have a nice evening.
I had a beautiful evening, Father.
Say, I'd like you to take a look at this new red fire. Will you turn out the lights, Mr. Pinna? I want to show Alice to get the full effect.
What, Father?
Take a look at this new red fire. It's beautiful. There. What do you think of it? Isn't it beautiful?
Yes! Oh, Father, everything's beautiful. It's the most beautiful red fire in the whole
Act 2. Grandpa is seated at the table along with a newcomer, Gay Wellington. Gay is drinking as the curtain rises.
All right. So I said to him, you can keep your old job. Ha ha!
I'm ready to read you the new play, Miss Wellington. Any minute, anytime you are.
Just a minute, dearie, just a minute.
The only thing is, I hope you won't mind my mentioning this, but you don't drink when you're acting, do you, Miss Wellington? I am only asking, of course.
I am so glad you brought that up. Once the play opens, I never touch a drop. Minute I enter the stage door, the bottle goes away until intermission.
Have you been on the stage a long time, Miss Wellington?
Oh, yes, all of my life. I've been in everything. Ever seen Peg of My Heart?
Yes.
Me too. Good show. Say, hot night out, isn't it?
Do you want me to open the window for you, Miss Wellington?
No, to hell with the weather. Say, he's cute.
Oh, she's just acting, Reba. That's all. She doesn't mean anything.
Well, anytime you're ready, we'll go up to my room and start. I thought I'd read the play up in my room.
All right, dear, I'm ready. When I see snakes, it's time for me to lie down.
Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, but those are real, Miss Wellington. They're Grandpa's, those are real. Oh dear, I hope she's not going to... Miss Wellington! Oh.
She's out like a light.
Better let her sleep it off.
Reba, Miss Wellington just passed out.
Good.
Do you think she'll be all right?
Yes, but I wouldn't cast her in the religious play.
Well, I suppose I'll just have to wait.
Next time you meet an actress on the top of a bus, Penny, I think I'd send her the play instead of bringing her home to read it.
Ed, I wish you'd stop printing and take those love dreams around. You've got to get back in time to play for me when Kolenkov comes.
Kolenkov coming tonight?
Yes, tomorrow night's his night, but I had to change it on account of Alice.
Oh, big doings around here tomorrow night, huh?
Isn't it exciting? You know, I'm so nervous. You'd think it was me he was engaged to instead of Alice.
What do you think they'll be like, his mother and father? Ed, what are you doing now?
Oh, Penny, did you see the new mask I made last night? Well, guess who it is?
Don't tell me now, Ed. Wait a minute. Oh, Helen of Troy.
No, it's Miss Roosevelt.
You know, the nice thing about these Meccano sets, you can make so many different things with them. Last week it was the Empire State Building, and this week it's Queen Mary.
Hasn't got the right hat on.
Look, Mr. Pinna, would you open the door and see if there's a man standing in front of the house?
Why? What for?
Well, the last 2 days, when I've been out delivering candy, I think a man's been following me.
Ed, you're crazy.
No, I'm not. He follows me, and he stands and he watches the house.
Really? I'll take a look out and see.
I don't see what anybody would follow you for, Ed.
Well, there's a lot of kidnappings going on, Grandpa.
Yes, but not of Ed.
Well, did you see him?
There's nobody out there at all.
You're sure?
Positive. I just saw him walk away.
You see?
Oh, it might have been anybody walking along the street, Ed. Would you hurry and get back?
Oh, all right.
Want to go down now, Mr. Sycamore, and finish packing up the fireworks?
Yeah, we gotta take the stuff up to Mount Vernon in the morning.
Oh, Mother, may I borrow some paper? I'm making out a list for Reba for tomorrow night.
Yes, dear. Now, here's some.
Oh. Why, what happened to your actress friend? Oh, is she giving a performance?
No, she's not acting, Alice. She's really, really drunk.
Oh, Essie, dear, you're going to give Reba the kitchen all day tomorrow, aren't you? Because she'll need it.
Of course, Alice. I'm going to start some love dreams now, so I'll be way ahead.
Thanks, dear. Look, Mother, I'm coming home at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Will you have everything down in the cellar by that time?
Of course.
The typewriter, the snakes, and the printing press.
And Miss Wellington.
And Miss Wellington. That'll give me enough time to arrange the flowers and fix the table.
The Kirbys are certainly going to get the wrong impression of this house.
You'll do all that, won't you, Mother?
Of course, dear.
Oh, and I think we better have cocktails ready by 7:15 in case they happen to come a little early. Oh, I wonder if I ought to let Reba cook the dinner. What do you think, Grandpa?
Now, Alice, I wouldn't worry. From what I've seen of the boy, I'm sure the Kirbys are very nice people. And if everything isn't so elaborate tomorrow night, it's all right too.
Darling, I'm not trying to impress them or pretend we are anything that we aren't. I just want everything to go off well.
No reason why it shouldn't.
We're all going to do everything we can to make it a nice party.
Oh, my darlings, I love you. You're the most wonderful family in the world, and I'm the happiest girl in the world. I didn't know anyone could be so happy. Why, this past week has been like floating. He's so wonderful, Grandpa. Why, just seeing him, you don't know what it does to me.
Just seeing him for lunch and dinner until 4 o'clock in the morning, and at 9 o'clock the next morning, you're at the office again, and there he is. Just seeing him, huh?
Oh, I don't care. I'm in love. Oh, Reba!
Nice, isn't it? It's nice to see her so happy.
Yes. I remember when I was engaged to Paul, how happy I was. And you know, I still feel that way.
I know. Nice the way Ed and Essie are getting along too, isn't it?
And Donald and Reba, even though they're not married. Do you suppose Mr. Pinna will ever marry anyone, Grandpa?
Well, there's Miss Wellington.
Oh dear, I wish she'd wake up if we're going to read the play tonight.
Sycamore, look what I found. Remember?
Why, of course, it's my painting of you as a discus thrower. Look, Grandpa.
I remember it. Say, you've gotten a little bald, haven't you, Mr. Pinna?
Is it very noticeable? Well, there's still some right here.
Well, it was a long time ago. Just before I stopped painting. Let me see, that's 8 years ago.
Too bad you never finished it, Mrs. Sycamore.
I always meant to finish it, Mr. Pinna, but I just started writing a play one day, and that was that. I never painted again.
Just as well, too. I was going to have to strip next.
My goodness. Who would have thought the day I came to deliver the ice 8 years ago, I was going to stay here?
The milkman was here for 5, just ahead of you.
Say, why did he leave anyhow? I forget.
Oh, he didn't leave. He died.
Oh, yes.
He was such a nice man. Remember the funeral, Grandpa? Oh, we never knew his name, and it was kind of hard to get a certificate.
What was the name we finally made up for him?
Martin Vanderhof. We gave him your name.
Oh, yes, I remember.
Well, it was a lovely thought, because otherwise he never would have got all those flowers.
Certainly was. And it didn't hurt me any. Not bothered with mail anymore, and I haven't had a telephone call from that day to this.
Yes, it was really a wonderful idea.
I wish you'd finish this sometime, Miss Sycamore. I'd kind of like to have it.
You know what, Mr. Pinna? I think I'll do some work on it right tonight.
Say, will you?
I don't think Miss Wellington's going to wake up anyhow. Look, Mr. Pinna, you go down in the cellar and put on your costume and bring up the easel. It's still down there.
I think so.
Now, where did I put my palette and brushes?
Oh, Rebishka, my little Rebishka.
Yes, sir, Mr. Kolenkov.
Hello, Mr. Kolenkov. Essie's in the kitchen.
Madam Sycamore, I greet you. Tell me, Grandpa, what should I do about Rebishka? I keep telling her she would make a great toe dancer, but she laughed only.
No, sir, I couldn't get up on my toes, Mr. Kolenkov. I got corns.
Rebishka, you could wear diamonds. A great girl, Grandpa. What is that?
It's a picture of Mr. Pinna. Penny painted it.
Huh? It stinks.
I know. How do you like that?
What is that?
She's an actress, a friend of Penny's.
She is drunk, no?
She is drunk, yes. How are you, Kolenkov?
Magnificent. Life is chasing around me, inside of me, like a squirrel.
Tis, huh? What's new in Russia? Any more letters from your friend in Moscow?
I have just heard from you. From him, and I have saved for you the stamp.
Thanks, Kolenkov.
They have sent him to Siberia.
They have, huh? How's he like it?
He has escaped. He has escaped and gone back to Moscow. He will get them if they do not get him. Oh, the Soviet government. I could take the whole Soviet government and...
I'm sorry I'm late, Mr. Kolenkov. I'll get into my dancing clothes right away.
Oh, tonight you will really work, Pavloa. Tonight you will take something new.
Is he making any progress, Kolenkov?
Confidentially, she stinks.
Well, as long as she's having fun.
You sure do tickle Reba, Mr. Kolenkov. She's laughing her head off in there.
Great. She is a great woman. Donald, what do you think of Soviet government?
The what, Mr. Kolenkov?
I withdraw the question. What do you think of this government?
Oh, I like it. I'm on relief, you know.
Oh yes, you like it?
Yes, it's fine. Only thing is, I gotta go round to the place every week to get it, and sometimes you gotta stand in line pretty near half an hour. Government ought to run better than that, don't you think, Grandpa?
The government ought to stop sending me letters. Want me to be at the United States Marshal's office Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock. Look at that.
Income tax. Yeah, they have got you, Grandpa.
I'm supposed to give him a lot of money so as to keep Donald on relief.
You don't say, Grandpa. You gonna pay it from now on?
That's what they want.
Oh, you mean I can come right here and get it instead of standing in that line?
No, Donald. I'm afraid you'll have to waste a full half hour of your time every week.
Well, I don't like it. Breaks up my week.
Well, he should have been in Russia when the revolution came. Then he would have stood in line. A bread line. Oh, Grandpa, what they have done in Russia. Think of it. The Grand Duchess, Olga Katrina, a cousin of the Tsar. She is now waitress in child's restaurant. I ordered baked beans from her only yesterday. It broke my heart. A crazy world, Grandpa, crazy.
Oh, the world's not so crazy, Kolenkov. It's the people in it. Life's pretty simple if you just relax.
How can you relax in times like these?
Well, if they'd relax, there wouldn't be times like these. That's just my point. Life is kind of beautiful if you let it come to you. But the trouble is, people forget that. I know I did. I was right in the thick of it, fighting and scratching and clawing, a regular jungle. One day, it just kind of struck me. I wasn't having any fun.
So you did what?
I just relaxed. 35 years ago, that was. And I've been a happy man ever since.
Oh, good evening, Mr. Kolenkov.
Miss Alice, I have not seen you to present my congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
May you be very happy and have many children. That is my prayer for you.
That is quite a thought.
Love. Love is all that is left in the world, Grandpa.
Yes, but there's plenty of that.
And soon, Stalin will take that away too. I tell you, Grandpa.
Oh, seems so nice to get into my art things again. They still look all right, don't they, Grandpa?
Yes, indeed.
You are a breath of Paris, Madam Sycamore.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Kolenkov. You know, I used to paint all the time.
Really?
It happened again. There was a fellow following me every place I went.
Nonsense, Ed, it's your imagination.
No, it isn't. It happens to me every time I go out to deliver candy.
Maybe he wants a piece of candy.
Oh, it's all right for you to laugh, Grandpa, but he keeps following me.
You don't know what following is. In Russia, everybody is followed. I was followed right out of Russia.
Of course. You see, Ed, the whole thing is just your imagination.
Well, maybe.
Here we are.
Where do you want this? Over there?
Put it right here, Mr. Pinna.
Ed, okay, for tonight's lesson, we use the first movement of the Schizorad.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Pinna, has something happened to your figure in these 8 years?
No, I don't think it's any different.
Yes, Miss Wellington, yes!
Woo!
Oh, dear.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kolenkov. I couldn't find my slippers.
Well, we have a hot night for it, my Pavlova, but we only have art if it is achieved through perspiration.
That's wonderful, Mr. Kolenkov. Did you hear that, Grandpa? Art is achieved through perspiration.
Yes, but it helps if you've got a little talent with it. I only made 2 bullseyes last night. I've got to do better than that.
Okay, you ready? Okay, we begin. Okay, come. You can do that now. Pirouette. Oh, come. It's 8 years now. Okay, Allais. And no, Grandpa, we cannot relax. Be stolen in Russia. The star relax. And what happened to me?
It was too late.
Mr. Kolenkov! Mr. Kolenkov!
Not relax. The Grand Duchess Olga Katrina would not be selling baked beans today. I'm sorry, no, we go back to pirouette.
Could you pull in your stomach, Mr. Pinna?
Okay, a little freer with the hands. The whole body must work. Ed, help us with music. Ed, freer. The music must be free too.
Mrs. Sycamore?
What, Reba?
With a gesture that has a grim foreboding in it, Reba motions toward the still invisible reason for her panic. There is a second's pause, and then the reason is revealed in all its horror. The Kirbys in full evening dress stand in the archway.
Good evening.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Are we too early?
No. Come right in. It's perfectly all right. We're glad to see you.
Why, yes, only we thought it was to be tomorrow
Night?
What?
Now, it's perfectly all right. Just make yourselves at home.
Tony, how could you possibly do such a thing?
I don't know. I thought it was.
Really, Toady, this is most embarrassing.
Why not at all? We weren't doing a thing.
No, just a quiet evening at home.
That's all. Now, don't let it bother you. This is Alice's mother, Miss Sycamore.
How do you do?
Alice's sister, Miss Carmichael.
Hi.
Mr. Carmichael. Mr. Kolenkov. And Mr. Pinna.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Don't mind my costume. I'll take it right off.
Mr. Pinna, would you tell Mr. Sycamore to come right up? Tell him that Mr. and Mrs. Kirby are here.
And be sure to put his pants on.
All right, excuse me.
Thank you.
I'll tell Alice that you're... Alice, dear!
What is it, Mother?
Alice, will you come down, dear? We have a surprise for you! Well...
Miss Kirby, may I take your wrap?
Well, thank you. If you're perfectly sure that we're not...
Oh, don't be alarmed, Miss Kirby. The snakes are perfectly harmless.
Thank you.
Of course, we're so used to them around the house.
I'm sorry to trouble you, but snakes happen to be...
I feel very uncomfortable about all this. Tony, how could you have done such a thing?
I'm sorry, Dad. I thought it was tonight.
It was very careless of you, very.
Oh, now anybody can get mixed up, Mr. Kirby.
Penny, how about some dinner for these folks? They've come for dinner, you know.
Oh, please don't bother. We're really not hungry at all.
Oh, but it's not a bit of bother. Ed! Oh, Ed, tell Donald to run down to the A&P and get a dozen bottles of beer and some canned salmon. Do you like canned salmon, Mrs. Kirby?
Please don't trouble Mrs. Sycamore. I have a little indigestion anyway.
Oh, I'm so sorry. How about you, Mrs. Kirby?
Oh, I'm very fond of it.
You can have frankfurters if you'd rather.
Either one will do.
Well, make it frankfurters and some canned corn and Campbell's soup. Got that, Ed?
Okay.
And to tell him to hurry, that the A&P is just at the corner and frankfurters don't take any time to boil.
And this is Alice's father, Mr. Sycamore. Mr. and Mrs. Kirby.
How do you do?
How do you do?
Oh, I hope you'll forgive my appearance.
This is Mr. Sycamore's busiest time of year. Just before the 4th of July, he
Oh,
always...
Oh, darling, I'm the most dull-witted person in the world. I thought it was tonight.
Hi, Tony. I thought you... Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine why I wasn't... Have you all met each other?
Yes, indeed.
How do you do, Alice?
Oh, how do you do, Mrs. Kirby? Oh, I'm afraid I'm not very presentable.
Oh, darling, you look lovely.
Of course she does. Don't let this trouble you, my dear. We've all just met each other a night sooner, that's all.
Of course.
But I was planning such a nice party for tomorrow night.
We'll come again tomorrow night then.
There you are, Alice. Am I forgiven?
I guess so. It's just that Oh, we'd better see about getting you some dinner.
Oh, that's all done, Alice. That's all been attended to.
But Mother, what did you send out for? Because Mr. Kirby suffers from indigestion and he can only eat certain things.
It's all right. It's all right.
I asked him what he wanted, darling.
Yes, but the thing is,
Now, it's not as serious as all that, just because I have a little indigestion.
Well, perhaps it is not indigestion at all, Mr. Kirby. Perhaps you have stomach ulcers.
Don't be absurd, Mr. Kolenkoff.
You mustn't mind Mr. Kolenkoff, Mr. Kirby. He's a Russian, and Russians are inclined to look on the dark side.
Okay, yes, I am Russian, but friend of mine, a Russian, died from stomach ulcers.
Really?
Please, Mr. Kolenkoff. Mr. Kirby has indigestion, and that's all.
Right, let him wait.
You sit down, Mr. Kirby. Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
Well,
tell me, Mr. Kirby, how do you find business conditions? Are we pretty well out of the depression?
What? Oh, yes, I think so. Of course, it all depends.
But you figure things are going to keep on improving.
Broadly speaking, yes. As a matter of fact, industry is now operating at 64% of full capacity, as against 82% in 1925. Of course, in 1929...
For Hollywood. That screwy ballyhooey Hollywood. Everybody sing it with me. You know the words. Where any office maid or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking person.
That might seem a little strange to you people, but she's not quite accountable for her actions. A friend of Miss Sycamore's, she came to the dinner and was overcome by the heat.
yes, some people feel it, more than others. Perhaps I'd better see if she's all right. Excuse me, please.
Yes, it is awfully hot. Oh, you usually escape all this hot weather, don't you, Mrs. Kirby, up in Maine?
As a rule, I had to come down this week for the flower show.
Oh, Mother wouldn't miss that for the world. The blue ribbon is the high spot of her year.
I won a ribbon at a flower show once for raising onions. Remember, Alice?
That was a garden show, Essie.
Oh. Yes.
I think she'll be all right now. Has Donald come back yet?
No, he hasn't.
Well, he'll be right back, and it won't take any time at all. I'm afraid you must be starved.
Oh, no, quite all right. Oh, hello, what's this? I didn't know there were little children in the house.
Oh, no, that's mine.
Oh. Well, I suppose every man has his hobby. Or do you use this as a model of some kind?
No, I just play with it.
I see.
Maybe you'd be better off if you had a hobby like that, Dad, instead of raising orchids.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, do tell us about your orchids, Mr. Kirby. You know they take 6 years before they blossom. Don't they? Think of that.
Oh, some of them take much longer. I've got one coming along now that I've waited 10 years for.
Believe it or not, I was waiting for an orchid.
Yes, yeah. But of course, during that time, they require the most scrupulous care. I remember a bulb once that I was very fond of. It had very round leaves and, it
Donald?
sprouted.
Oh, Donald!
Oh, here we are. Did you get everything, Donald?
Yes, ma'am. Only they didn't have any frankfurters, so I got pickled pig's feet.
Oh, never mind, Donald. Just bring everything into the kitchen. Oh, Mr. Kirby, please tell them all about the orchids. I know they'd love to hear it. And excuse me, just a moment.
Kind of an expensive hobby, isn't it, Mr. Kirby? Raising orchids?
Yes, it is, but I feel that if a hobby gives one sufficient pleasure, it's never expensive.
That's very true.
You see, I need something to relieve the daily nerve strain. After a week in Wall Street, I'd go crazy if I didn't have something like that. A lot of men I know have yachts just for that very reason.
Well, why don't they give up Wall Street?
How's that?
I was just joking.
Well, I think it's necessary for everyone to have a hobby. Of course, to me, more than a hobby, but my great solace is spiritualism.
Spiritualism? Now, Mrs. Kirby, everybody knows that's a fake.
To me, Mrs. Sycamore, spiritualism is, well, I would rather not discuss it, Mrs. Sycamore.
Remember, Penny, you've got one or two hobbies of your own.
Yes, but not silly ones.
I don't think it matters what the hobby is. The important thing is to have one.
To be ideal, a hobby should improve the body as well as mind. Okay, the Romans were great people. Why? What was their hobby? Wrestling. In wrestling, you have to think quick with the mind and not quick with body.
Yes, but I'm afraid that wrestling is not very practical for most of us. I wouldn't make a very good showing as a wrestler.
You could be a great wrestler. You are built for it. See, look. Oh!
Oh, Mr. Kirby, are you hurt?
Are you all right, Father?
Where are my glasses?
Oh, here they are, Mr. Kirby. But I'm afraid they're broken.
Oh, I am sorry. I am sorry, but when you wrestle again, Mr. Kirby, you will, of course, not wear glasses.
I do not intend to wrestle again, Mr. Kolenkov.
Better sit down, Father.
Mr. Kolenkov, how could you do such a thing? Why didn't somebody stop him?
I think if you don't mind, perhaps we better be going.
Mother!
Oh, Mrs. Kirby, please don't go. Mr. Kirby, please. I've ordered some scrambled eggs for you and plain salad. Oh, please don't go.
I am sorry if I did something wrong, and I apologize.
I can't tell you how sorry I am, Mr. Kirby. If I had been there,
That's quite all right.
Of course it's all right, Alice. We're not going.
Well, that was exciting for a minute, wasn't it?
You were talking about your orchids, Mr. Kirby. Do you raise many varieties?
I'm afraid I have quite forgotten about my orchids by now.
I'm awfully sorry, Mr.
Okay, what did I do that was so terrible? Okay, I threw him on floor. Did kill him?
Please, Mr. Kolenkov.
I'm sure dinner won't be any time at all.
Would you like some candy while you're waiting, Mr. Kirby? I've got some freshly made.
My doctor does not permit me to eat candy. Thank you.
But these are nothing, Mr. Kirby. Just coconut and marshmallow and fudge.
Don't, Essie.
Well.
Miss Alice.
Excuse me. What is it, Reba?
The eggs done fell down the sink.
Make some more, quick!
I ain't got any.
Send Donald out for some.
All right.
Tell him to hurry! Oh, I am so sorry. There'll be a little delay, but everything will be ready in just a minute. Whoosh!
Oh, I've certainly put you people through a lot of trouble with my stupidity.
Not at all, Tony.
Look, why don't we all play some sort of game while we're waiting?
Oh, that'd be fine.
Mother, I don't think that Mr.
Oh, no, I have the idea. I know wonderful trick with glass of water, so you just...
No, Mr. Kolenkov!
No, Mr. Kolenkov.
But I'm sure Mr. and Mrs. Kirby would love this game. It's perfectly harmless.
Please, Mother.
I'm afraid I'm not very good at games, Mrs. Sycamore.
Oh, but any fool could play this game, Mr. Kirby. All you do is write your name on a piece of paper.
But Mother, Mr. Kirby doesn't want to play the game, and there's no way.
He'll love it. He'll love it. Here you are, Mr. Kirby. Write your name on this piece of paper. And Mrs. Kirby, you do the same on this one.
Mother, what is this game?
I used to play it at school. It's called Forget Me Not. Here you are, Grandpa. Now, I'm just going to call out 5 words, just anything at all. And as I say each word, you're to put down the first thing that comes to mind. Is that clear? So, for instance, if I say grass, you might put down green, or whatever you think of, you see? Or if I call out chair, you might put down table. It shows the reactions people have to different things. You see how simple it is, Mr. Kirby.
Oh, come on, Father, be a sport.
Very well. I shall be happy to play.
You see, Alice, he does want to play.
Well, I don't clearly see that he...
Now then, are we ready?
Ready.
Now remember, you must play fair. Put down the first thing that comes into your mind.
I understand.
Everybody ready?
Ready.
The first word is potatoes. Potatoes. Ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
Bathroom.
Mother!
Bathroom. Got that?
Go ahead. Okay.
All ready? Lust.
Mother, this is not exactly what...
Nonsense, Alice. That word's all right.
Mother, it is not all right.
Oh, I don't know. It seems to be a perfectly fair word.
You see, now you mustn't interrupt the game.
May I please have that last word again?
Lust, Mr. Kirby.
I've got it.
This is quite a game, isn't it?
Shh, Grandpa, shh. All ready? Honeymoon. Now, Essie. All right. The last word is sex.
Mother!
Everybody got sex?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now give me all the papers. May I have your paper, Mr. Kirby? Oh.
Well, what happens now?
Now, this is the best part. I read out your reactions.
I see. It's really quite an interesting game.
I knew you'd like it. I'll read your paper first, Mr. Kirby. I'm going to read Mr. Kirby's paper first. Listen good. Everybody, this is Mr. Kirby. Potatoes, steak. That's very good. See how they go together, steak and potatoes.
I just happened to think of it.
It's very good. Bathroom, toothpaste. Well, lust, unlawful. Isn't that nice? Honeymoon, trip. Yes. And, sex, male. Oh, yes, of course. You are. Well, that's really a wonderful paper, Mr. Kirby.
Thank you. It's more than just a game, you know. It's a sort of an experiment in psychology, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is. And it just shows how your mind works. Now we'll see how Mrs. Kirby's mind works. Ready? This is Mrs. Kirby. Potatoes, starch. I know just what you mean, Mrs. Kirby. Oh dear. Bathroom, Mr. Kirby.
What's that?
Bathroom, Mr. Kirby.
I don't quite follow that, dear. I don't know. I just thought of you in connection with it. That's all. After all, you are in there a good deal, Anthony. Bathing and shaving. Well, you do take a long time.
I hadn't realized I was being selfish in the matter. Go on, Mrs. Sycamore.
I think it's a very silly game and we ought to stop it.
Yes.
No, please go on, Mrs. Sycamore.
Where was I? Oh, yes. Lust, human.
Really? Human, Miriam.
I just meant, Anthony, that lust is, after all, a human emotion.
I do not agree with you, Miriam. Lust is not a human emotion. It is depraved.
Very well, Anthony, I'm wrong.
Really, it's the most pointless game. Oh, suppose we play 20 questions.
Yes.
No, I find this game rather interesting. Will you go on, Mrs. Sycamore? What was the next word?
Honeymoon.
Oh, yes. And what was Mrs. Kirby's answer to honeymoon?
Honeymoon? Dull.
Did you say dull?
What I meant, Anthony, was that Hot Springs was not very gay that season. All the old people on the porch all day and nothing to do at night.
That was not your reaction at the time, as I recall it.
Father, this is only a game.
A very illuminating game, Tony. Go on, Mrs. Sycamore.
Oh, this one's all right, Mr. Kirby. Sex, Wall Street.
Wall Street? What do you mean by that, Miriam?
I don't know, Anthony. Nothing.
But you must have met something, Miriam, or you wouldn't have put it down.
It was just the first thing that came into my head, that's all.
But what does it mean? Sex, Wall Street.
Oh, I don't know what it means, Anthony. It's just that you're always talking about Wall Street, even when... I don't know what I meant. Would you mind terribly, Alice, if we didn't stay for dinner? I'm afraid this game has given me quite a headache.
I understand, Mrs. Kirby.
Yes, possibly we better postpone the whole dinner, if you don't mind.
But you're coming tomorrow night, aren't you?
I'm afraid we have an engagement tomorrow night.
Perhaps we better postpone the whole affair a little while. The hot weather and...
I think we're being very ungracious, Father. Of course we'll stay to dinner tonight.
I have a very bad headache, Tony.
Come, Tony. I'm sure everyone understands.
Well, I don't. I think we ought to stay.
No, Tony.
What?
We were fools, Tony, ever to think it would work. It won't. Oh, Mr. Kirby, I won't be at the office tomorrow. I won't be there at all anymore.
Alice, what are you talking about?
I'm very sorry, my dear. Are you ready, Miriam?
Yes, Anthony.
Darling, you mustn't mind this.
It's been very nice to have met you all.
Yes, lovely.
Are you coming, Tony?
No, Father, I'm not.
I see. Your mother and I will be waiting for you at home. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Stay right where you are. Everybody, don't move.
What heavens?
What? How dare you? What do you mean?
What is all this?
I demand an explanation.
Keep your mouth shut, you. Which one is it?
This one.
What are you doing?
Ed!
Why? What do you mean?
This is an outrage.
Shut up. What's your name?
Edward Carmichael. I haven't done anything.
Oh, you haven't, huh?
This seems rather high-handed to me. What's it all about?
Department of Justice.
Oh my goodness, J-Men!
Ed, what have you done?
I haven't done anything.
What's the boy done, officer?
What is it? What is this all about?
That door. That lead to the cellar?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Back. Check the cellar. Jim?
Yes, sir.
Take a look upstairs and see what you find.
Okay.
I haven't done anything.
Come here, you. You ever see these before?
They're my circulars.
Oh, you print this stuff, huh?
Yes, sir.
And you put them in the boxes of candy to get them into people's homes?
The love dreams.
But I didn't mean anything.
Oh, you didn't, huh? Dynamite the Capitol. Dynamite the White House. Dynamite the Supreme Court. God is the state is God.
But I didn't mean it like that. I just like to print. Don't I, Grandpa?
Now, officer, the government in no danger from Ed. Printing is just his hobby, that's all. He prints anything.
Oh, he does, huh?
I have never heard of such nonsense.
And I refuse to stay here and listen to this.
Let me get my pipe. Let me get my pipe, will you?
Shut up, you. You're right, Chief. They've got enough gunpowder down there to blow up the whole city.
But we only use that to...
Still, everybody in this house is under arrest.
What's that?
Oh, good heavens!
Now look here, officer. This is all nonsense.
Better let me get my pipe. I left it.
Shut up, all of you.
It seems to me, officer.
Shut up!
Keep still, will you? Stop that! Stop that!
Who's that?
That's my mother.
The fireworks!
The fireworks!
Donald!
Miriam, are you all right? Are you all right?
Oh, it's all right, Mother. There's no danger.
Grandpa!
Oh, well.
Let go of me. I've got to get down there.
Good Lord!
Strips, I've got to get my manuscript!
My piano! How am I gonna get my piano out?
Mr. Kulikov! Mr. Kulikov!
Not worry. Do not worry. Okay.
All right, Reba, it's all right.
Line up, you people, line up, all of you.
Not even a balloon left. Look.
How's your hand, Ms. Pinna? Better?
Yes, it's better. Is there some more olive oil out there?
It's in the salad bowl.
Thanks.
Well, she's going. Nothing anybody said could have done anything.
She ain't going to stay away long, is she, Mrs. Sycamore?
I don't know, Reba. She won't say.
My, going to be lonesome around here without her.
How do you feel, Miss Sycamore?
Oh, I'm all right, Donald. Just kind of upset. Perhaps if I do some work, maybe I'll feel better.
Well, I won't bother you then.
She's going. Somehow I feel like it's my fault. We've been so happy, but maybe if we had done things more like Mr. and Mrs. Kirby, more in fashion, she would have stayed, she would have been proud of us. But we're wonderful. I'm a wonderful mother. We're wonderful parents. It's a wonderful family. Does anybody know what time she's going? It must be around 7.
Now, Penny, let the girl alone.
But she's going.
Suppose she goes to the Adirondacks. She'll be back. You can take just so much Adirondacks, and then you come home.
Oh, but it's all so terrible, Grandpa.
In a way, but it has a bright side too.
How do you mean?
Mr. Kirby getting into the patrol wagon for one thing, and the expression on his face when he and Donald had to take a bath together. I'll never forget that if I live to be 100. And I warn you people, I intend to. If I can have things like that.
Oh, it was even worse with Mrs. Kirby. When the matron stripped her, there was a burlesque dancer there, and she kept singing a strip song while Miss Kirby undressed.
I'll bet you Bar Harbor's gonna seem pretty dull to the Kirbys this summer.
Need any help, Alice?
Oh, no thanks, Mother. I'm just going to press these.
Alice, dear.
Now, Penny.
I'll bring the big bag down as soon as you're ready, Alice.
Thank you.
Do you want to take some candy along with the train, Alice?
No thanks, Essie.
Really, Alice, you could just be right along here as you could in the mountains. You could stay right up in your room and nobody would bother you the whole time.
No. I want to be by myself, away from everybody. I love you all and you know that, but I just have to go away for a while. I'll be all right. Oh, Father, did you phone for the cab?
No, I didn't know you wanted one.
Oh, I told Mr. Pinna to tell you, Paul. Didn't he tell you?
Oh, he told me, but I forgot.
Oh, I wish I lived in a family that didn't always forget everything. That behaved the way other people's families do. I'm sick of cornflakes and Donald. No, everything. Why can't we be like other people and other families? Roast beef and 2 green vegetables and doilies on the table and a place you can bring your friends to without having...
I'll see if I can do anything.
Where's Tony? Tony, talk to her.
Oh, thank you.
In the kitchen.
Thanks. Alice, won't you listen to me, please?
Tony, it's no use.
Alice, you're not being fair. At least let me talk to you.
Where'd they go?
Upstairs.
She walked right out the minute he came in.
Knocked the olive oil right out of my hand. I'm gonna smell kind of fishy today.
How you're feeling, Mr. Pinna? Your hand still hurting you?
No, it's better.
Everything burnt up, huh? Downstairs?
Everything. Even my Roman costume, too.
I told you there was a bright side to everything. All except my 23 years back income tax. I get another letter every day.
Say, what are you gonna do about that, Grandpa?
Well, I had kind of an idea yesterday. It may not work, but I'm trying it anyhow.
What is it?
Good evening, everybody.
Why, Mr. Kolenkov.
Hello, Kolenkov.
Forgive me, the door was open.
Oh, just come right on in.
You will excuse my coming today. I realize you're upset.
That's all right, Mr. Kolenkov.
I don't think I can take a lesson, Mr. Kolenkov. I just don't feel up to it.
But do stay to dinner, Mr. Kolenkov. We've got all that food out there and somebody's got to eat it.
I will be happy to, Madam Sycamore.
Fine.
Thank you. Now, I wonder if I know you well enough to ask you great favor.
Why, of course, Mr. Kolenkov. What is it?
You've heard me talk about my friend, the Grand Duchess Olga Katrina.
Yes.
She is a great woman. And the Grand Duchess, her cousin, was Tsar of Russia. And today, she's waitress in child restaurant, Times Square.
Yes, I know. If there's anything at all that we can do.
I tell you, the Grand Duchess Olga Katrina has not had a good meal since the revolution.
She must be hungry.
And today, the Grand Duchess not only has her day off, Thursday, but it's also the anniversary of Peter the Great. A remarkable man.
Mr. Kolenkov, if you mean you'd like the Grand Duchess to come to dinner, why, we'd be honored.
Oh, yes!
In the name of the Grand Duchess, I thank you.
Oh, I can hardly wait to meet her. Where is she?
She is, oh, yes, she's outside. I will go get her for you.
Ed, straighten your tie. Essie, your dress. How do I look? All right?
You know, if this keeps on, I want to live to be 150.
And now I present to you the Grand Duchess Olga Katrina.
Hello.
Your Highness, permit me to present you, Madam Sycamore, Madam Carmichael, Grandpa.
Madame.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Carmichael, Mr. Sycamore, and Miss Pinna.
All right now, Mr. Pinna.
Will you be seated, Your Highness?
Thank you. You are most kind.
We are honored to receive you, Your Highness.
I am most happy to be here. When is dinner?
Oh, it'll be quite soon, Your Highness, very soon.
I do not mean to be rude, but I must be back at the restaurant by 8 o'clock. I am substituting for another waitress.
I will make sure you are on time, Your Highness.
Thank you, Kolenkov.
You know, Highness, I think you waited on me once in Childs at the 72nd Street place.
No, that was my sister.
Grand Duchess Natasha.
I work in Times Square.
Oh.
Quite a lot of your folks living over here now, aren't there?
Oh, yes, many. My uncle, the Grand Duke Sergi, he is an elevator man at Macy's. A very nice man. Then there is my cousin, Prince Alexis. He will not speak to the rest of us because he works at Hattie Carnegie. He is in ladies' underwear. Oof.
When he was selling hot dogs at Coney Island, he was willing to talk to you.
Kolenkov, our time is coming. My sister Natasha is studying to be a manicurist. My uncle Sergi, they have promised to make floor walker. Next month, I get transferred to the Fifth Avenue Childs. From there, it is only a step to Schrafford's. And then we will see what Prince Allais says.
I think you've got him.
You are telling me.
Your Highness, did you know the Tsar? Personally, I mean.
Of course, he was my cousin. It was terrible what happened, but perhaps it was for the best. Where could he get a job now?
That is true.
And poor relations are poor relations. It is the same in every family. My cousin, the King of Sweden, he was nice to us for about 10 years. But then he said, I just cannot go on. I'm not doing so well myself. I do not blame him.
No, of course not. Would you excuse me for just a moment?
Tell me, Grand Duchess, is it true what they say about Rasputin?
Everyone wants to know about Rasputin. Yes, my dear, it is true. And how?
Don't say.
We do have to watch the time.
Yes, I must not be late. The manager does not like me. He is a communist.
We'll hurry things up. Essie, why don't you go out in the kitchen and see if you can help Reba?
I will help too. I am a very good cook.
Oh, but Your Highness, not on your day off.
I do not mind. Where is your kitchen?
Through here. But you're the guest of honor, Your Highness.
But I love to cook. Come, Kolenkov. If they have got sour cream and bought cheese, I will make you some blintzes.
Oh, blintzes. Come, Pavlova. We will show you something.
Say, the Duchess is all right, isn't she? Hey, Duchess, wait for me.
Gee, she's really got a wonderful face for a mask, hasn't she?
Really, she's a very nice woman, you know, considering she's a Grand Duchess.
It's wonderful what some people go through, isn't it? And they still keep kind of gay, too.
She made me forget about everything for a minute.
I better call that cab, I suppose.
No, wait, Paul. Here they are. Maybe Tony has convinced her to stay.
Will you go up and bring my bag down?
Oh, don't you do it, Ed.
Ed, please.
All right. Ed, bring it down. Do you know that you have the most stubbornest daughter in all 48 states?
That must be the cab.
If it is, it's certainly wonderful service.
Is Tony here, Alice?
Oh, yes, he is. Come in, Mr. Kirby.
How do you do?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Forgive my intruding. Tony, I want you to come home with me at once. Your mother is very upset.
Very well, Father. Goodbye, Alice.
Goodbye, Tony.
I need hardly say that this is as hard and painful as it is to Mrs. Kirby and myself as it is to you people. I'm sorry, but I am sure you understand.
Well, yes. And in a way, no. Now, I'm not the kind of person that tries to run other people's lives. But the fact is, Mr. Kirby, I don't think these two young people have got as much sense as you and I have.
Grandpa, will you please not do this?
I'm just talking to Mr. Kirby. A cat can look up at a king, can't he?
Do you want me to do that for you, Alice?
No thanks, Mother.
You've got quite a while before the train goes, Alice.
Will you send a cab to 761 Claremont right away, please? That's right. Thank you.
Alice.
Father.
Are you ready, Tony?
Mr. Kirby, I suppose after last night, you think this family is kind of crazy?
No, I wouldn't say that, although I'm not accustomed to coming for dinner and spending the night in jail.
Well, you've got to remember, Mr. Kirby, you came on the wrong night. Now tonight, I'll bet you nothing happens at all. Maybe.
Mr. Vanderhof, it was not merely last night that convinced Mrs. Kirby and myself that this engagement would be unwise.
Father, I can handle my own affairs. Alice, for the last time, will you marry me?
No, Tony. I know exactly what your father means, and he's right.
No, he's not, Alice.
Alice, you're in love with this boy, and you're not marrying him because we're the kind of people we are?
Grandpa, it's
I
not...
know. You think the two families wouldn't get along. Well, maybe they wouldn't. But who says they're right and we're wrong?
I didn't say that, Grandpa. I just feel that maybe...
Well, what I feel is that Tony's too nice a boy to wake up 20 years from now with nothing in his life but stocks and bonds.
How's that?
Yes, mixed up and unhappy, the way you are.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Vanderhof. I am a very happy man.
Are you?
Certainly I am.
I don't think so. What do you think you get your indigestion from? Happiness? No, sir. You get it because most of your time is spent in doing things you don't want to do.
I don't do anything I don't want to do.
Yes, you do. You said last night that at the end of a week in Wall Street, you're pretty near crazy. Why do you keep on doing it?
Why do I? That's my business. A man can't give up his business.
Well, why not? You've got all the money you need. You can't take it with you.
That's a very easy thing to say, Mr. Vanderhof, but I have spent my entire life building up my business.
And what's it got you? Same kind of mail every morning, same kind of deals, same kind of meetings, same dinners at night, same indigestion? Where does the fun come in? Don't you think there ought to be something more, Mr. Kirby? You must have wanted more than that when you started out. We haven't got too much time, you know. Any of us.
Well, what do you expect me to do? Live the way you do? Do nothing?
Well, I have a lot of fun. Time enough for everything. Read, talk, visit the zoo now and then, practice my darts. I even have time to notice when spring comes around. I don't see anybody I don't want to. Don't have 6 hours of things I have to do before I get 1 hour to do what I like in. And I haven't taken bicarbonate of soda in 35 years. Well, what's the matter with that?
Well, the matter with that? Suppose we all did it. A fine world we'd have, everybody going to the zoo. Don't be absurd, Mr. Vanderhoffs. Who would do the work?
There's always people that like to do the work. You can't stop them. Inventions, and they fly the ocean. There's always people that like to go down to Wall Street too, because they like it. But from what I've seen of you, I don't think you're one of them. I think you're missing something.
I am not aware of missing anything.
I wasn't either, till I quit. I used to get down to that office 9 o'clock sharp, no matter how I felt. Lay awake nights for fear I wouldn't get that contract. I used to worry about the world too. Got all worked up about whether Cleveland or Blaine was going to be elected president. It seemed awful important at the time. But who cares now? What I'm trying to say, Mr. Kirby, is that I've had 35 years that nobody can take away from me, no matter what they do to the world. See?
Yes, I do see. And it's a very dangerous philosophy, Mr. Vanderhof. It's un-American. And it's exactly why I'm opposed to this marriage. I don't want Tony to come under its influence.
What's the matter with it, Father?
What matter with it? It's downright communism. That's what it is.
Oh, you didn't always think so.
I most certainly did. What are you talking about?
I'll tell you what I'm talking about. You didn't always think so because there was a time that you wanted to be a trapeze artist.
Why?
Don't be an idiot, Tony.
Oh, yes, you did. I came across those letters you wrote to Grandfather. Do you remember those?
No! How dared you read those letters? How dared you?
Why, that's wonderful. Did you wear tights, Mr. Kirby?
Certainly not. This whole thing is absurd. I was 14 years old at the time.
Yeah, yes, but at 18, you wanted to be a saxophone player, didn't you?
Tony!
And at 21, you ran away from home because Grandfather wanted you to go into the business. It's all down there in black and white. You didn't always think so.
Well, well, well.
I may have had some silly notions in my youth, but thank God my father knocked them out of me. I went into the business and forgot about them.
Not altogether, Father. There's still a saxophone in the back of your clothes closet.
There is?
That's enough, Tony. We will discuss this later.
No, I want to talk about it now. I think Mr. Vanderhoff's right. Dead right. I'm never going back to that office. I've always hated it and I'm not going on with it. And I'll tell you something else. I didn't make a mistake last night. I knew it was the wrong night. I brought you here on purpose.
Tony!
Well, for heaven's sake!
Because I wanted you to wake up. I wanted you to see a real family as they really were. A family that loved and understood each other. You don't understand me. You've never had the time. Well, I'm not going to make your mistake. I'm clearing out.
Clearing out? What do you mean?
I mean, I'm not going to be pushed in the business just like you because I'm your son. I'm getting out while I still can.
But, Tony, what are you going to do?
I don't know. Maybe I'll be a bricklayer, but at least I'll be doing something I want to do.
That must be the cab.
Ask him to wait a minute, Ed.
Grandpa!
Do you mind, Alice? You know, Mr. Kirby, Tony is going through just what you and I did when we were his age. I think if you listen hard enough, you can hear yourself saying the same things you said to your father 25 years ago. We all did it. And we were right. How many of us would be willing to settle when we're young for what we eventually get? All of those plans we make, what happens to them? It's only a handful of the lucky ones that can look back and say that they even came close. So, before they clean out that closet, Mr. Kirby, I think I'd get in a few good hours on that saxophone.
I beg your pardon, but before I make the blintzes, how many will be there for dinner?
Your Highness, may I present Mr. Anthony Kirby and Mr. Kirby Jr., the Grand Duchess Olga Katrina.
How's that?
How do you do? Before I make the blintzes, how many will be there to dinner?
Oh, I'd make quite a stack of them, Your Highness. You can't ever tell.
Good. The Tsar always said to me, Olga, do not be stingy with the blintzes.
Who did you say that was, Mr. Vanderhof?
The Grand Duchess Olga Katrina. She's cooking the dinner.
Oh.
And speaking of dinner, Mr. Kirby, why don't you and Tony both stay?
Oh, please do, Mr. Kirby. We've got all that stuff we were supposed to have last night. I mean, tonight.
It looks like a pretty good dinner, Mr. Kirby, and it'll give us a chance to get acquainted. Why not stay?
Oh, how about it, Father? Are we staying for dinner?
Why, if you'd care to, Tony, I would like to. Very much.
Now if Alice will send away that cab, Mr. Vanderhof?
How about it, Alice? It's going to be a nice crowd. Don't you think you ought to stay for dinner?
I'm staying, Alice. The families ought to get to know each other, don't you think?
Mr. Kirby. Tony. Oh, Tony.
Oh, darling.
Grandpa, you're wonderful.
I've been telling you that for years.
Grandpa, here's a letter for you. It was in the icebox.
Let me see. The government again.
How do you do, Mr. Kirby?
How do you do?
Won't you step into the office, Miss Sycamore? I'd like to do a little dictating.
I'd better tell that cab.
Well.
What is it, Grandpa?
The United States government apologizes. I don't know, Manickle. It seems I died 8 years ago.
Why, what do they mean, Grandpa?
Remember Charlie the milkman, buried under my name?
Yes,
of course.
Well, I just told them they made a mistake, and I was Martin Vanderhof Jr., so they're very sorry, and I may even get a refund.
Why, Grandpa, you're an old crook.
Sure.
How did you say you escaped the income tax, Mr. Vanderhof?
Well, folks, tonight, my friends, you are going to eat.
Hello there. Hello.
How do you do?
Fine. Glad to see you.
What has happened?
He's relaxing. That's right. Play something, Ed.
Everything will be ready in a minute. You can sit down.
Come on, everybody, dinner. Come on, Mr. Kirby.
Oh, yes, I'm coming.
Essie, stop dancing and come to dinner.
All right.
You will like Russian food, Mr.
Yes,
Kirby.
you will like Russian food, Mr. Kirby. You will.
But you must be careful of your indigestion.
Nonsense. I haven't any indigestion.
Oh, well, Miss Sycamore, how was your trip to the Adirondacks?
Shut your face, Mr. Kirby.
In Russia, when they sit down for dinner, you know.
Quiet, everybody. Quiet. Well, sir, here we are again. I just want to say thanks once more for everything you've done for us. Things seem to be going along fine. Alice is going to marry Tony, and it looks as if they're going to be very happy. Of course, the fireworks blew up, But that was Mr. Pinna's fault, not yours. We've all got our health, and as far as anything else is concerned, we'll leave it to you. Thank you.
Grandpa, I have heard from friend in Russia. He has escaped again.
Do you like roast
Save the
goose?
stamp for me.
We have a roast goose for dinner.
Like it. It's my favorite dish.
Mr. Kirby, I'm gonna dance for you later. I've got a new mazurka.
I've written some special music for it.
Mr. Kirby, what do you think of the security commission?
Mr. Pinna, we've got to start thinking about next year's fireworks.
Well, here goes the Adirondacks.
And a very good thing, too.
And that is the end of our show. Let's please hear it for our incredible cast. First up, Michael Ryan.
Yeah.
Joe Moeller. And our first senior, Charlotte Pontarelli.
Yeah.
Georgia Cohen.
Yeah, Georgia.
Emily Mitzner. Lincoln Williams.
Yeah.
Bella Klaidman.
Yay.
Yeah.
Woo! Kennedy Mathis. Woo! Our next senior, Helmer Toro Jr. Woo! Woo! Dario Allais.
Woo! Woo!
Izzy Abbott. Woo, woo, woo. Jed Levinson.
Woo!
Zach Redhead-Lectone. Ella Benjamin.
Thank you.
Owen Polley.
Thank you so much.
And Talia Hartman-Sigall.
Yeah, Talia.
Everyone, thank you so much for being here. Please join us for the senior send-off at 8 o'clock. Have a great, great night.
Woo!
Okay, bye.
Can you stay or leave? Yes, leave. Or
Leave? Oh, yeah, leave. Yeah. Okay.
Bye. Bye. Wait. Okay. Are we still okay?
Do we stay?